All right, it's 10 o'clock, so I guess we'll get started. Today we have Tricia and David Zimmerman. They are from the Northstar MLS, and I just can't believe you guys actually come on and do this for us. We appreciate it so much. I think that it's a great way for people to get updates and also just be reminded on how to actually put a listing properly on the MLS. So I'm going to let David take over. He's going to just maybe if you want to just kind of go over what you're going to talk about, and Tricia too, and then you guys can get started. So good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Excuse me. I was asked today to kind of go over the listing input process. But before we get into that, my name's David Zimmerman. I'm the customer success manager at Northstar MLS. So I do some of these outreach things, whether virtually or in person. We do some training content materials, and I'm housed under our marketing department. So I'm involved with my marketing team. I'm creating some content and materials and doing our outreach, and I work closely with our director of engagement. So we're getting out to our brokerages and out to our associations, and really trying to engage with you, our subscribers. Again, with that today, I was asked to kind of cover the listing input process. So we will begin with that and kind of go from beginning to finish. And I'll do my best to kind of outline and note important things along the way. And then also, then I'll turn it over to Tricia. Tricia, do you want to give a little intro or?
I think everybody pretty much knows me, but I am Tricia Henson. I am the compliance manager here at Northstar MLS. So once David is done, I have a presentation that I can do. One of them that I had prepared, but there's other things that had come up. So I think depending on time, I will just go into a general conversation with everybody, let you guys know some of the things that we are seeing. And if we have time, I will go into my presentation. If we don't, I will definitely take questions. And David, do you want to let them know also if they can do questions before, after, or during?
Let's try and do questions at the end. So I'll try and get through stuff as thoroughly as possible, and then we'll come back and revisit questions. And if there's anything that I need to show or bring up and demonstrate on the screen, I certainly can. But I'll try and get through the presentation or my demo as thoroughly as possible to begin with, and then we'll revisit those. All right, are we ready to dive in then?
I think so.
All right, perfect. I'm going to go off camera because I'm going to be staring at my screen here, working through the demo. But hopefully you'll still be able to hear me, so that shouldn't be a problem. So again, my name's David, and we are going to dive right into Ad Edit. So what is Ad Edit? Ad Edit is our listing input system. So it was actually our own proprietary product, something that we developed in-house ourselves by our own developers. Since then, we have sold this particular product to a company called RE Core and have licensed it back. So we've invested in an organization that has just more resources and a larger development team that is also part of the industry. So it enables us to make some changes to the system and improvements and just keep it more stable with those added resources. So we still have, a lot of control over what you're seeing within our ad edit system, how things are configured, different data fields. And the data fields and whatnot in here, we're always going to follow that RISO compliance. So we're trying to be as compliant as possible, as uniform as possible. And when I say RISO is the Real Estate Standards Organization. So it's an organization that is national, or ISO is international because I believe they do operate in Canada as well. And they kind of provide some guidance as to different data fields and whatnot in the system. So there's uniformity. So no matter if you're working in Florida or working in Minnesota, you're going to see hopefully similar or common data field definitions and descriptions. So when diving into the ad edit system, whether you're doing your own listing input or not, whether your office is doing it for you, your broker's doing it for you, or you're doing it on your own, it's just kind of important to understand the whole process and where the data integrity really lies. That's what the value of the multiple listing service is it's really that value in that data. How do we have good, valuable data? Well, we have MLS rules and regulations and compliance. We have safeguards in place with our listing input system, required fields, minimal required fields, so that we're making sure we're getting the information from those who are inputting it into the system. And if you ever get a notice from our rules and regulations team about some, data issues on your listing, never take offense to that. And it's never our rules and regulations team's, goal to fine you or to punish you by any means. It's really just that we've got, again, safeguards in place that are checking your listing, making sure that dates are accurate and that things are being entered in a timely manner. And then, of course, if there is any other reports from other agents who may say, like, hey, like this listing doesn't have a third bathroom, or maybe there isn't a legal bedroom, and you need to make adjustments to those counts and that type of thing. Again, don't ever take offense to that. We want the data to be as clean and valuable as possible. So, when diving into the ad edit system, it's going to look something like this. Now, the system defaults to single family active listings that have been edited in the last 30 days. Right now, you're not seeing those on my dashboard because I don't have any single family active listings that have been edited in the last 30 days. I'm going to add another status here. So I'm just going to throw the incomplete status on here because we've got some incomplete listings in the system. And then you're going to see a screen that looks something like this. So your listing cards are going to show up here on your dashboard. What's nice about this is that it's completely customizable. So if you click on this little arrow by your name in the upper right-hand corner, you can go into preferences. And within the preferences, you've got a home page. You've got the auto pop, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. So the auto population function, and then a listing tab. These are all for you to be able to set your defaults as to what you want to see when you're in different parts of the system. I want to spend a little bit of time on this homepage option because, again, as you notice when I logged in, I had single family active listings that were edited in the last 30 days as my default. You can change those defaults in here. So if you work in other property types, you can add additional property types to your starting default. If you want to see other statuses such as pending or maybe coming soon or maybe, withheld, you can go ahead and add these other statuses, and then you can also expand that time frame. So if you just want to see any listing no matter the last time it was edited, you can go ahead and change these defaults in here. And then that is what you will see each time you log into the system. So again, it's completely customizable. You can set your preferences, which is a super nice thing to be able to do here in the system. I'm going to go ahead and just change mine back. So they're back to those system defaults again, just for testing purposes. But do know again that you do have that capability here within the ad edit system. Additionally, up here in the edit system, there's this multifunctional search bar. So you can search by MLS listing number, you can search by address, you can search by city, agent name, office ID, agent ID. Really, it's a very multifunctional search tool. Now, when you enter in criteria into the search bar, you will have the capability to save it. So, for example, I've got some I have a Minneapolis search saved. If you can revisit that saved search by simply clicking on this drop down over in the right hand side and going down to your saved searches. And here again, you can see where it says save search as. So once you've entered in criteria into this multifunctional search bar, you can name that search and save it. Then you can always come back and revisit it in this drop down here over on the right hand side. So again, just for example, I simply just have Minneapolis, Minnesota as a saved search right now. And that includes single family. It looks like I'm just going to have it should be single family active in the last 30 days. So again, those are my defaults. And then it's giving me anything that is in Minneapolis. So you can see I have pages and pages and pages of listings because it's Metro Urban Core. We've got a ton of different listings here that we're shuffling through. Anything that has been edited in the last 30 days in that single family category. So we could go on and on and on and look at all of these listings. But again, just kind of a nice way to be able to break it down. So maybe you are interested in a particular city or a particular agent or office. you can create that saved search and then again always just revisit it here in your saved searches without having to re-enter in that criteria every time you're searching in the ad edit system. As you'll notice, skating across the screen here, we've got some other different filters over on the right-hand side. So you can expand the number of listings you're seeing per page. You can sort by these different options here: list date, expiration date, price, city status, and then you can organize those in a ascending or descending order. So if you're searching for like list date, for example, you can search in ascending or descending order. It'll go ahead and organize those listings as such. Excuse me. Additionally, you can change your view. So you can go into a list view, or you can swap back out to that default card view here. And then throughout the system, you're going to notice these informational eye icons. These informational eye icons are going to give you some good information about what you're kind of seeing on that page and what these different options mean. So again, we talked about the search filter bar at the top, the different search tools, the list and card view. It talks about copy and clone, which we'll get into once we get into a listing. It's talking about copy and clone because there's copy and clone options here within on the listing card view. So just give you some description as to what you're seeing on that active screen that you're in within the ad edit system. And then, of course, it also has our contact information down below for our help desk. So just keep that in mind. Over in the lower left-hand corner, there's going to be this little chat bot. This little chat bot is going to actually send a message directly to our live help desk. So our help desk of 5 staff are going to field any questions that are submitted through this little chat here, and then they will respond to you. So you're never getting pushed into a robotic call tree or an AI bot here on the system. When these questions are submitted within this chat box, they are going to a real live person, and that is who is responding to you. And before we dive into adding a listing in the system, you'll notice that in my lower right-hand corner, I have a little plus sign. That means that I have the capability to add my own listings in the system. If you're not seeing that icon, most likely that means you don't have the permission level to do so. To verify what your permission level is, you can click on your name in this upper right-hand corner again and click on Session Info. This screen is going to tell you, it'll highlight your NERDS ID, what your permission level is, your office name and ID, and then your operating system and some other kind of system information. So you can see right now, my permission level is super user. I'm MLS staff. I have the highest level permission level that's available to me within the ad edit system. Most of you, if you're realtor salespeople, you're going to see the permission level either agent edit or agent subscriber. On occasion, depending on the brokerage, you might see a permission level that says Agent Edit Limited, but we'll talk a little bit about those. So Agent Edit means that you have the capability to add your own listings in the system, including media, open houses, and PDFs, supplements, anything like that. If you have the agent subscriber permission level, you will not have the capability to add your own listings in the system. Somebody will have to do that for you. However, you will still have the capability to edit the media, the map pin, and open houses on your listing, even with the agent subscriber permission level. You just do not have the capability to initiate that listing and fill in the data fields. And then Agent Edit Limited is just like Agent Edit, where you have your own capability to add your listings in the system. However, in order for any of those changes or for the status changes to take effect, you have to have either your office staff or your head broker approve that listing for you before it get pushed out to the system and be active. So if you do have any concerns about what your permission level is, and if you think you should have the capability to add your own listings in the system, that's a discussion that you would have with your broker and your brokerage. And then that permission level can be changed with your association. So you would want to reach out to whoever your association is, and then they will change that permission level on your membership record. All of that information is fed over to us on the MLS side. And then it will automatically recognize that there's been a change to that permission level. And then again, if you are supposed to have this plus sign in the lower right, you will start seeing that down there to add your own listings in the system. So again, I know that was kind of a lot up front here, but we're going to dive into the listing input portion now. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this plus sign in the lower right-hand corner. You're going to see a screen that looks something like this. So again, just for testing purposes, we're going to go ahead and choose the single family property type. Then you have three different ways that you can search for properties in the system. You can search for address, the parcel ID, or the owner name. Now, if your property is a brand new property, maybe it's part of a 40-acre parcel that's getting parceled off, perhaps it's a lot that's been split, and the county has not assigned it a PID yet, and they have not updated the tax records, you may not find your property by using one of these three search options. If that's the case, you're going to want to use this bypass option in the upper left. The bypass option is going to create a brand new listing for you, assign it an MLS listing number, but it's not going to pull forward any of the information that's available through the auto pop process. So again, for testing purposes, I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to search for an address. I'm going to search for our old office address or where Minnesota Realtors are housed. So I'm going to type in the address for that property. I'm going to go ahead and select it. It's going to highlight the county for you over here on the map. And then it's going to really kind of zero in on the Google Maps here. So you're going to see a little card view over on the left. It'll give you a Google Street View if it's available. This isn't a great Google Street View because it's just kind of the side of the building. Excuse me. However, I can verify if this address is correct, if the owner of the building is correct. So again, Minnesota Association of Realtors, we can verify that parcel ID. Then again, we can kind of look over here on the map, verify that this looks like it's the accurate neighborhood. We can flip to a satellite view and kind of zoom in and out if we need to make sure that this is the appropriate building that we are looking to list in the system. If all looks good, I can go ahead and click this plus sign on the card over on the left, and we're going to create that new listing. It's probably going to warn me that it's a duplicate listing because I've used this address in the past. But again, just kind of a nice little check in place to let us know if you've got any other competing listings in the system for the same property. As you notice, because I used the auto pop function, the map pin has been placed for me. We've got the latitude and longitude. We've got the address, the house number. It's giving me the section township numbers even. Down here, it's giving me the school district. If there's a subdivision name, it'll populate that information for me. Then any recent tax year information. So you're going to see this tax information down here, the legal description. And then generally, if this was more of a traditional single family home, it would be giving me the beds and baths. But because it's a commercial property and I'm listing it as single family, it's probably not going to be giving me those beds and baths because it doesn't have any, technically, because of what this property is zoned for. Then as you scroll down here, it looks like it insert the acreage for me. It's got the year built. So it's going to pull in some information from the tax record for you if you use that auto pop function. So it really just enables you to kind of save some time by using that auto population function, and the system is able to pull that data from the tax record. Now, in the incomplete status, I always say to treat the incomplete status as a scratch pad. So nobody can see your incomplete listings except for yourself, your office staff, your head broker, and then MLS staff. So essentially they're hidden in the system. It's like a scratch pad. You're really just preparing your listing relatively informally while it's in the incomplete status. You can add as little or as much data as you want into these data fields, and at any point you can go ahead and save that listing in that incomplete status. Because it is just a scratch pad, it doesn't need to be complete in its entirety. So if you're just getting it started and you're going to say, hey, I'm just going to click save, we're going to save this listing, and then you're going to move on with your day, you can always come back and revisit this listing and make edits to it. I'm going to dive back into the edit mode here. And I'm just going to show you a couple of examples. So if we're kind of coming down here, no, it's not in foreclosure. It's not lender owned, not a potential short sale. The owner is not an agent. So I'm just going to add some data fields here, maybe down on the beds and baths just for fun. I'm going to add in some information. So we're going to add a little bit of information here. As you're going through this process, you'll notice in the lower right-hand corner, there's this little floppy disk icon. And if you're old enough to know what that is, great. But some people might just refer to it as the save icon. But you'll notice it's the save and continue button. If I click on the save and continue, what that will do is it's going to save my edits up until that point. It's going to keep me in edit mode. So you can see I still can edit these fields here. And it's going to keep my place on the screen. So it's nice that as you're kind of scrolling through, if you're doing a really heavy data input and we're sitting here and we're inputting a ton of information, we want to make sure that we're kind of maybe periodically punching that save and continue button because it's going to save anything I've done until that point. And again, it's going to keep me in edit mode and my place on the screen. Now you can always hit the save button in the upper right as well. But once you do that, it's going to pull you out of edit mode and it's going to essentially just save the listing. And then you'll have to re-enter edit mode to get to those data fields. So the save and continue button in the lower right is the closest thing we get to an autosave. We don't have an autosave at this time because we don't want people to accidentally be saving listings automatically once they've entered in all the required information. Without their initiation of saving it. So if you have the wrong price in there, you have the wrong beds and baths, like we don't want the system to automatically save it as active and push that data out when it's inaccurate. So the save and continue button is just a nice little tool to use throughout that listing process. And as you can see, there's many, many data fields. So it's always our suggestion to fill out the information as much as possible. When you're inputting a listing, it's so great to have as much information about the property as you can, because as people are searching for particular properties out in the MLS system, they may be looking for something, very specific. So maybe under the lot description in here, you're going to add that this property is on a golf course. So when people are searching for properties out in the MLS system, and they're specifically searching for properties that have the criteria of on golf course, you'll want to make sure that you're adding that to your listing here in the add edit listing input system. So again, the more data that you can provide that describes the property, the better. We want you to input as much as you physically can. Now, when you're moving from the incomplete status to say coming soon or active, there's going to be some prompts for you. So if I move to coming soon, it's going to ask me to upload that coming soon authorization form. So you'll want to make sure that you have that coming soon form signed by your client if you're choosing to put it into the coming soon status. Or if we move to active, active is going to trigger any of those minimal required fields that you need to complete before you can save it as active. Because I'm logged in as myself right now, I have very few required fields that it's flagging for me. You will have many more than I as I scroll through the listing here. But I'm just going to kind of show you what it looks like when you have a field that needs to be satisfied. So it's going to be highlighted with this red text. And then you'll want to make sure that you're satisfying this field before you are able to save it in that active or coming soon status. You can also simply just click on this errors button in the upper right, and it'll focus in specifically on the fields that have errors. So rather than having to scroll through the whole listing and make sure you have everything, you can just click on that errors button. It'll pull up the fields that specifically need to be satisfied before you can save it as active. And I'm going to go ahead and just satisfy that field. And now you see that that save button has illuminated for me, and I can go ahead and save this listing into the active status. So that is just something to be aware of as you are navigating through the listing, making sure that you have got all of the data fields input carefully and accurately. Within the listing itself, you probably notice that there's a little jump to. You can jump to different sections within the listing. So it just kind of saves you a little bit of time as you're bopping around in here if you're just, rather than scrolling all the way. So just a nice little handy tool there over on the left. Then over here on the right, you're going to see that I have a trash can icon. While it's in the incomplete status, you can always remove an incomplete listing from the system. However, once you've advanced this listing out of anything but the incomplete or withheld status, that trash can icon is going to go away for you. You no longer can delete the listing in the system. So once it advances to a status outside of incomplete or withheld, that trash can icon will not be there. I'm going to back out of edit mode here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about these icons here over on the right. So again, that first icon here is the edit icon. We've been in there, we were editing some of those data fields, and I kind of walked you through that process. The next icon here is the clone button. So the clone button, you can only clone your own listings in the system. The cloning button is going to make a complete copy of this listing from top to bottom. That includes the listing data input fields, any media or photos or anything that you may have uploaded on your listing, and then any future scheduled open houses. So for whatever reason, you have some open houses that are scheduled out in the future, you can go ahead and you can clone this listing. It'll carry those forward for you. Now, the reason why you can only clone your own listings in the system is, again, it's making a complete copy of your listing, including your photos and your photo remarks. So because you own the rights to all of that media and those documents that you've uploaded on your listing, you can only clone your own listing in the system. This next button here is the copy icon. You can copy not only your own listings in the system, but anybody's listing in the system. The copy function, however, is only going to pull forward the data fields on this page here. So it's not going to pull forward any of the media or supplements that you have uploaded or any future scheduled open houses. It will also clear out any of those remarks fields. So again, the copy button, you can copy any listing in the system, including your own, to create a new listing in the system. A couple of examples I like to use is that perhaps last fall you were working with a seller and they decided to pull their listing off of the market during the cold months and during the holiday season, just so they didn't have to worry about any showings or, dealing with moving in the middle of winter. Well, now it's June now, but maybe they approached you in March and said, hey, like we're ready to relist next month in April. We'd like to pull our listing back on the market or our property back on the market. You can actually come back to that old listing that you canceled last fall and you could clone it. And again, it's going to pull forward all of that media, all of the captions that you worked so hard on, and all of that information will repopulate for you into a new listing with a new listing number. So that's one reason why you might want to use that clone function. Now, alternatively, the copy function, perhaps you helped somebody purchase a home a couple of years ago. And since then, maybe they've had a couple of children, or maybe they're moving out of town because of a job change. And they've approached you and said, hey, like you helped us purchase this property a couple of years ago. We want you to list it and help us get it sold. You can actually go back to that original listing agent's listing and you can copy that listing. It'll save you some time. It'll pull a lot of this information forward, except for dates, prices, current tax information, and then the remarks. But again, it is your responsibility to make sure the information is correct on the listing. So you want to make sure that that listing that you're copying, that you're still thoroughly going through it and making sure that that information is correct before you list that property out in the system. I have the trash can icon because of my permission level and this other like refresh icon that you won't see because again of my permission level. But you will see this little icon that looks like an arrow with a clock. If we click on that, that's actually going to give you the listing edit history. So you can see in here who edited it, at what time, and what fields. So several of these fields you can see on the left here, they were blank, and I gave them a value. They changed to these values over here on the right. And you can see that my ID, David Zimmerman, changed these fields on June 2nd, 2026 at 10:20 a.m. And you can see what I changed the value of that data to. Same thing down here. I made a few more edits a few moments later. You can see what those data fields were, and they were blank, to then giving them a value. So if these data fields did have a value over here on the left, so if there was an existing data in that field and I changed it, you would also see that. So perhaps I changed it from, 1 half bath to 2 half baths. You would see those changes here in this listing modification log. So it's kind of nice just to be able to see that information here within that history icon within the ad edit system. All right, we're nearing the end here, but let me just talk to you a little bit about the media map pin and whatnot. So regardless of your permission level, if you're an agent subscriber or an agent edit, you are going to have the capability to edit the map pin on the map. So to do so, you're going to see this little edit icon within the map header, and it'll take you into a screen that looks like this. Now, if the map pin isn't correct, you simply click on it, drag it, and drop it to where it needs to be placed. So you can drag and drop this pin wherever you feel is appropriate or the most accurate. You can switch to a satellite view. So again, it kind of gives you that capability to really kind of zoom in and out and see where that map pin is being placed. You can even go to street view and drop yourself on the street to see if, okay, hey, is this the correct property that I'm trying to list or not? We can back out of that. And another option is you can actually enter in the address, and Google is going to try to pinpoint that location as best as possible with this shaded area on the map. Then I always just tell folks, try to click as close to the center of that circle as possible, place that map pin, and then go ahead and save those changes. So again, regardless of permission level, you have that capability to edit the map pin on your listing. Additionally, we've got our media here. So if we go over to the media tab, this is where you have the capability to upload photos to your listing. So we're going to pull in any photos that might be within your in your computer's files. You can also upload raw video. So we partner with this system called Welcome Mat, and you can actually upload a direct MP4 file into the listing. Again, you have to follow all MLS compliance guidelines, but do you know that you can upload that raw file right into your listing in this screen here? You have the capability to edit those captions, rotate the photo, delete the photo. Then you also can add those supplements. If you have any PDFs, any disclosures, or anything else that you want to add to your listing here, you can do that in this supplement section. Then you've also got your virtual tours. How is virtual tours different than the video? Well, video is raw footage that you have the actual file for. The virtual tours would be if you have somebody who is hosting your virtual tour out on their website. So if you're working with like a professional photographer and they have your virtual tour uploaded to a web page that is MLS compliant, you can go ahead and paste that web link URL here in the virtual tour section and then go ahead and save it on your listing. Do you know that you can only have a max of 2 virtual tours or video combos on your listing at any given time? So you could have like your own video upload here, and then you could have 1 virtual tour. So it's a max of 2 at any given time. We move over to the open houses tab. You're going to get really used to this plus sign in the lower right-hand corner. Again, you can go ahead and initiate that open house. We do have the option to do a series. So the series is generally used by builders who have a model home. So then they are, conducting these open houses from maybe 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily, Monday through Friday. So they go ahead and they just kind of set this for the listing, and then they can do a start and end date. So they could say, starting tomorrow, maybe they're going to have that model home open all the way through the end of August. They can go ahead and add those series of open houses without having to do one by one. Obviously, most common is to do that one-time open house here, and you can go ahead and save it in the system, and it looks something like this. Now, perhaps I get an offer today, and I don't have to host this open house tomorrow on Wednesday. I can come back into my listing here, and I simply can just delete that open house. My clients were happy with the offer. They no longer want to do the open house. I can come in here and delete that open house. Then lastly, we've got this advertising and promotion tab. And for me to show that to you in its entirety, let me go ahead and convert this listing to the active status, just because it'll make a little bit more sense for us here. It's asking me to satisfy some errors. We're going to save it as active. So once I've saved it as active, I can bop over to this advertising and promotion tab. There's a couple of cards in here for you that will take you into a couple of different systems. One of them is Postcard Mania, which allows you to do direct mailer postcards. So it'll take you to the storefront here, and it'll allow you to go ahead and choose your respective mailer type, how many you want to do, choose your design. So if maybe you're hosting an upcoming open house, or you want to do a little postcard blast that you've got this new listing, or whatever it may be, you have that capability to access Postcard Mania there. Then lastly, we have this vendor called Ad Builder. Ad Builder is kind of like this full digital ad experience that you can put as little or as much money in as you want to. And I say that with a caveat because I think the minimum amount of money that you have to put in for your ads is $150. So just do keep that in mind. But Ad Builder allows you to optimize your listing to get it to populate Instagram ads, Facebook ads, and it pushes it up in the SEO within Bing and Google. So if somebody's looking for like, for example, an active listing in Golden Valley, then and they're just Googling that, your listing in theory would hope to pop up at the top of the SEO and kind of see what that ad might look like. It would look something like this over here on the right, or if somebody's searching for a property, there will be a link to your listing. And then any of these leads that people click on these ads from, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Google, or Bing, those leads go directly back to you as the listing agent. But you can do a targeted ad, based on a specific status. So you can do a just listed ad, or you can do this full listing life cycle. If you do the full listing life cycle, your ads will automatically update. So, for example, if you're going coming soon, your ads will pop up in those 4 places and say, new coming soon listing. And once the listing goes from coming soon to active, your ads will automatically update and just say, new active listing, and then so on and so forth. If you do a price improvement, if you lower the price, your ads will go ahead and update. If you've scheduled an open house or anything like that, your ads will update and say, hey, upcoming open house for this particular property. So pretty cool tool to utilize if you're interested in that. So that kind of brings me to the end of the full kind of cycle of ad edit, what options are available to you, and how to kind of navigate the system. Hopefully, it wasn't too boring for you. But before I kind of switch over to any questions or anything, I do want to draw your attention to our dashboard and our website. So when you log into the system, you're going to log into the Northstar MLS dashboard, and it looks something like this. This is where a great resource for you, because you're already logged in using the single sign-on, where all of these different products and services are available to you as a Northstar MLS subscriber. So it's really kind of the one-stop shop where you can access everything. Most of them are already single sign-on. So when you click on the product, it's going to just go ahead and launch that product for you. You should already be logged in, which is super nice. And you can always, again, customize this dashboard even. You can drag and drop these icons to organize it. Over here on the right, there's the little plus sign. You can go ahead and add a star below any of the icons you want to see out on your dashboard. If you only are using a handful of products, maybe you've only got 4 or 5 stars on these icons listed here, but it just gives you that full customization process again. You can kind of change the view if you don't like the white view. You can go ahead and change that to a dark view. And then in here also, there's different settings. You can organize it. And then when you are logged in here, just a little good food for thought, there's this account settings option. And in here, you can change your password and manage your authentication. So again, just a really nice place to access products and services outside of, say, like Matrix, if that's what you're using for your MLS system, or outside of NorthstarMLS.com, our main website. Okay. So I'm going to wrap that up. It took a little bit longer than I was expecting, but hopefully, again, that was useful to you, or you found some value in seeing that process and just understanding the importance of that data integrity. Let me just go ahead and I'm going to review. I see there's a question in here. Can you cover the rules that are for the video in the supplements? And Tricia will happily
Yep.
talk about that for you.
There is another
So,
one here, David.
okay, go ahead.
It's specific to the open house for another broker. So, an agent asked if they can do an open house for another broker. Is there a way for an agent at NRG to promote her open house when doing it for another broker?
I will show you what I know from the technology side, and then you can speak to it from a compliance side if that's allowed. But when you are setting up an open house on a listing, you do have the capability to change who's hosting that open house. So, like, I can actually put in Tricia's name here if I wanted Tricia to be that point of contact for hosting my open house when I'm inputting that here in the system. So that's kind of the extent of me on the technology side. Now, from a rules and regulations standpoint, is there any limitations to that?
There is not, as far as Northstar MLS is concerned. We always tell you to make sure to check with your broker to make sure the broker is okay with you hosting an open house for another brokerage. But like David said, it is best to put in who is going to be in there. Even though we may not have policy around it, your association might have some policy around who is accessing that house, and it might come in with your lockbox type stuff. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to check with your association also. However, we as Northstar don't, but as a best practice, it is always best to let them know who's going to be entering the home. So the sellers always know who's in there, especially if something is stolen or the property is damaged or any of that kind of stuff.
And I apologize, I wasn't sharing my screen showing you that process, so I just went through it again. So again, within a listing, you can go into that open houses tab. You can go ahead and add that new open house, and then you can clear out you as kind of like the default, and you can add in a different agent name here to verify, who's hosting that open house. And then building off of that, Tricia, too, it probably would be important for them to maybe note that in the showing notes within showing time, perhaps just
Right.
to also notify that it is not the actual listing agent who's hosting that open house, but somebody is hosting it on their behalf. So that would just be the one other little tidbit that I would probably suggest doing. Like Tricia said, just so people know who's in the home and who's hosting that open house at any given time.
Yeah. So
Any
on
other
that,
question? Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
on that question, does anybody have anything before that? Because I see we have a few other questions in there. This is great. You guys keep them coming, or take yourself off mute at this point and ask away. But
Here,
is
I'll
there
ask something for David just before he moves on.
sure?
About a month ago, you did that. You showed all the useful features of all the apps that are available to download into our phones. So you got a recording of that? I missed it.
We
So
do. Yep. You can actually access that at northstarmls.com. So let me just show that to you. So if you go to northstarmls.com, underneath of our resources tab, there's this webinar section. If you click on webinars, it's going to go ahead and pull up those webinars for you. Right now, I guess I don't know what the sort method is by default. You can actually sort by date. And if you sort by date, it'll pull things forward that are the most recent. So like just this month, we did a webinar with RPR and AI and their mobile app. And then last month we did On the Go in the Know, which is the MLS mobile apps, which is the webinar that you're referencing. So you can find that here underneath our webinars on our website. You can also find it at our YouTube channel. So if you actually go out to YouTube and if you search for Northstar MLS, it'll take you to our actual YouTube channel too. And things are housed out here on our YouTube channel. So that's where you can find most of those webinars and other video recordings.
okay, I thought that would have been a useful one, and I missed it. So I was gonna put it in the chat box if anybody wants to get a direct link there.
Yeah, definitely take a look at it. We talk about, various different, again, mobile apps and things that are available to you. Talk a little bit about Matrix, talk a little bit about Flex because we do offer two MLS systems. But then just some other mobile apps. It doesn't go super in depth. It's a very kind of broad overview of what's available to you, but at least kind of plants the seed to kind of get you started. So if you guys are interested in something a little bit more in depth, we always can revisit that if it's a specific app product specifically. But yeah, definitely a good place to get started. Any other questions for me before we kind of hand it over to Tricia and we let her kind of move on here?
There is one, David. I don't know if you want to take it. It's with RPR. Is it correct that RPR system has more data for commercial listings and public records?
I mean, potentially. So, we have commercial listings in our MLS system. However, we aren't necessarily like the primary commercial MLS. So, Minnesota actually has MinCar. So they're actually the Minnesota Commercial Real Estate Association. So a lot of people who actually operate kind of in the commercial real estate area are going to belong to this particular association and maybe listing their listings through them and not through Northstar MLS. So while there are some commercial listings in Northstar MLS, there might be more in RPR because of like the data share with like MinCar or other entities that specifically focus on just commercial listings. So at least that's what my knowledge is on the subject. And RPR is a great resource. It's a NAR provided service. So if you're a member of the National Association of Realtors, you can get into RPR. And again, you can access that here from your dashboard. You can access it from the tools drop down in Matrix. But what's nice about RPR is that you can access listings that are, kind of from outside of your MLS too. So, for example, like we don't have a data share relationship with the Lake Superior area realtors up in Duluth. However, if you come in here and you search for Duluth area listings, you can go ahead and you can find some of those here. And then you can go ahead and click on them. You can view the full details. And then as you're scrolling through these listings that are potentially from a different MLS, you can identify who they're listed through. And of course, the one that I chose, it's actually listed through Northstar MLS. So it is actually one of our listings. Let me see if I can find another one that's not a Northstar member here.
The point is if any other National Association of Realtor member has an MLS syndicating it, will go into RPR. So then the answer is
Correct.
yeah.
Yep, exactly. So what's nice is that you can find that contact information. You can see the source of where that listing's from. You can see the listing agent information and their agent remarks. So it's still giving you some agent level information that you wouldn't otherwise see out on public websites. And then also showing time is integrated. So you can actually schedule showing using the showing time system, even if the listing is outside of your primary MLS. Rather than have to do the old school call up the agent and stuff, you can still use showing time because we do have like a showing time reciprocity with some area MLSs that we don't have relationships with. So that's probably way more information that you wanted than what you asked that question for about RPR. But just wanted to go ahead and answer that. Let me answer this one more question before I hand it over to Tricia. Does the board decide how many apps to have here? Are some free as they are startups? Do you have data of which ones are actually used much? I don't personally have the data. Our product and vendor engagement manager would have the usage data, so she kind of manages that. Hannah Zimprick, she manages that front. Most of these apps are just available to you at no cost. They're just included in your subscription. So like MLS Touch if you're using Matrix, Flex MLS Pro if you're using the Flex system, Home Spotter if you're using either Flex or Matrix, you can access the Home Spotter mobile app. All these again are just available to you. Tuesday is a social MLS app. So a lot of different apps that are available to you at no added cost. Same thing with RPR. RPR is a very expansive, great mobile solution. You can create CMAs on the go. You can use their AI tool within their mobile application. So again, all of these are like included in your subscription or in the dues that you're already paying. You're not paying for these mobile applications outside of what fees you're already submitting. So just wanted to answer that. No cost for us, but dues go up. We try our best to keep dues at minimal. Each association is responsible for setting their rates and fees. We have our costs, and then you're charged through your association. So, we try to keep things as low as possible. A lot of these vendors that we do bring on, like such as Cubicasa, it doesn't cost you anything. We don't have to increase your fees to bring on this vendor. However, to use the product, they do have a light version that's free. So you can do your floor plans for free using the light version. However, they do have upgrades available to you. So do be aware that there's upgrades that are available to you that you can pay for. But we do try to bring on vendors that, again, that are, essentially no cost to us. So it's no cost to you, no raise in fees, but they do have those upgrade options as well to get you to adopt their product and potentially use some of their products and services. So we do our best to mitigate those fees. And again, we don't have control over what the associations above us are doing because it's a multi-layered approach. You've got your NAR fees, you've got your state association fees, you have your local association fees, and then built into those local association fees are really your MLS services and fees because we partner with 12 different 12 different realtor associations throughout the region. So if you belong to one of those 12 realtor associations, you're going to have Northstar MLS services, and they're kind of built into those dues, and they're setting those rates. So just wanted to provide a little bit clarity on that. Mincar is separate. We don't have a relationship with them. You would have to contact them in order to sign up with them. So All right, I am going to hand it over to Trisha. I've taken way enough of your time. Hopefully, she's got a little bit of a moment to speak with you here. I really do appreciate your time here this morning. Thank you so much.
And if you guys do have extra questions for David, honestly, this is your hour. So even if we don't get to a ton of compliance stuff, that's okay because I know that you'll probably have me come back in a couple months anyway. So I can, and maybe David would join on another one. If you guys find this helpful, it looks like people thought this was some pretty great info. So definitely give us your thoughts. But I do want to answer a couple of the questions you had in here. Let me just scroll back up. I know there was for supplements, as far as videos in supplements. We don't typically allow virtual tours in supplements. If there's a specific type of video you want in a supplement, your best bet is to send it to us so we can review it. Usually, like I said, if it's a video tour of any sort, that would go in the video section or the virtual tour section. If it is something like you need a video of the surrounding area because it goes to your website, possibly, but typically any videos are in the virtual tour or the video section. So we don't usually see videos in the supplements. We can sometimes.
I meant for the video portion next to the pictures, in that area. I know I might have said supplements in there. I just was meaning, because you click on supplements to go into the pictures or whatever is what I was talking about. So in the pictures portion for a video, are there any rules as far as how long the video is or any of that stuff?
Oh, sure. And the video was, correct me if I'm wrong, David, on the MP4 one, I believe it was 300 megabytes. If it is an actual virtual tour link, there is no size limit because that is housed on their site. But I believe within our video section, the actual video can go up to 300.
I'll log in really quick here and just see what it
Yeah.
is because it'd be welcome, Matt, who is our facilitator for those videos. Let me just see how big it is. If there is a limitation here. Yeah, 300 megabytes,
Okay.
you're right. So it's a
Yeah.
file size up to 300 megabytes, which is quite large, but
Yeah.
just something to keep in mind.
And when you add a video in the video section under the photos, that does take up one of your virtual tours. So you still have up to two video/virtual tours. So if you put a virtual tour link in one section and a video link in the photo section, that does then make up for the two virtual tours. So
Trisha, can you talk a little bit about why YouTube is a non-compliant platform to host videos? I saw a question came through
yeah.
there. And as long as I've been with the MLS, which has been almost 9 years now, YouTube has never been a compliant platform. So it's nothing new that we don't allow them to be posted to YouTube. But if you want to just expand on the reasoning
Yep.
behind that.
Yep. And as far as promotion in the MLS, we don't allow actual promotion within the MLS. Okay. So YouTube always, well, we have not seen a way that it can be used in any other way. When you go to and make a video on YouTube, that has links that shares out to several different places. There's several different videos. Typically, there is some sort of branding within it. And so that's why it is not compliant. So any type of video, photo, it cannot be branded within the MLS. So even if you're doing some sort of a promotional thing within the MLS, that typically is going out to your clients only for what David was showing, and that's for your listings. That's not going and promoting other people's listings. As far as within the MLS, anything in public areas, public remarks, photo captions, open houses, any of that cannot have any kind of promotional information. And that includes virtual tours also. So I hope that answered that question.
It's Marge that put the question in. What platforms can we use to have our own videos and not be purchasing? So here's the problem I have with it. You say because it allows promotion, but when you go to one of those paid videographers, their video says companypaidvideographer.com/your address, right? So they're getting promotion right there. And yet we can't find a cheap option when there's so many ways that we can do videos now without, without a certain company. What ways can you upload a video that you are doing yourself, that you're not trying to promote other things,
Yep.
but which companies can you do if you're not doing a paid videographer company that you allow?
So, and that's a great question, Marge. So, like David had showed earlier, if you do your own videos, just take your MP4 file and upload it in that photo video section. You can even do some editing on there also. It takes a little longer, but you can definitely use your own photos. You do not have to use a company. The ones that you do see, so we get a lot, is Matterport, Vimeo, stuff like that. The reason why we do allow their logo on there, it's smaller on the bottom of their page, that logo cannot link out to their homepage. But the reason why we do have to allow that on there is because they typically own the copyrights. So we have to allow them to have the copyright on there. Um,
That makes
there,
sense. Okay.
yeah, and so at times, sometimes those are free ones. I don't know how great they are because obviously they don't work with us directly, but those are some of the ones we see the most, and that's the reason why you get to see those. But again, if it is a live link and you click on it and takes you out of there and takes you to their homepage, that's not compliant.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So thank you for asking that. And if you are ever in question on a virtual tour or photos or remarks, any of that kind of stuff, please, please, please always send it in to us because we would much rather review it before you put it on because I promise you, we don't want your money. We don't want to fine. We would much rather work with everybody and get it compliant. But there is a really good resource where David was showing on how to add a video and do the editing and all of that on there.
I would say that in the era of everything being AI and chatbots, that Northstar always answers the phone very quickly.
Thank
Like
you. Yeah, we try.
anytime you have questions, it's super rare to not be able to get a hold of somebody.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, we will absolutely try because we know how very important your business is and how much is asked of you all. So we try to be there to support you 100%. I know we only have a couple more minutes. I think, was there
There was
one?
a virtual staging question,
Okay.
just rules surrounding virtual staging. So maybe touch on that might be good.
Sure. And what I can do is I will send back an email to Kathy. We actually do finally have our best practices in place. And again, for us, it is just a best practice. Okay. So um, our the word around the street is Minnesota Commerce is going to be putting it into a state statute, kind of like Wisconsin, Washington, and California. That's why we don't have it in actual policy. It is just a best practice and it is a really good one. But basically, just to kind of break it down for you real quick, even though I'll send it over, when you do virtual staging, it is obviously okay to do virtual staging or AI enhanced. We did change the photo rule. So you can now put on the photo if you want, you can put some text on there, still no branding. Obviously, you want to make sure your photo looks good. You don't want it to, look gaudy or have language that may not be appropriate. However, we do now allow that. So you could put on the photo, if you would like, virtual, staged, or AI enhanced, any of that kind of stuff. And the reason for that is because when that does go out to websites to keep brokers compliant, especially if Minnesota follows what the other places are, they do have to have the disclosure on there. We don't require it, but it is best practice for us, but they may require it. So that's why we changed that. So that way, when other websites pick that up, they may not pick up your photo captions if you're putting it in there. So if you were to put virtually staged or AI enhanced smaller on the bottom, that way your disclosure is always seen. But we do suggest that you do put a enhanced photo and then shortly after that an unaltered photo so they know that hey, this one's staged, this is what it actually looks like. Try not to take away from the property. You really do not want to take away from the structure of the property. So you don't want to remove any walls still. You don't want to do any of that. But you could say, here's what it would look like if you were to do a fresh paint job, but here's what it looks like now. But be very clear on that. But those are some of the biggest things that we hit on there. But I will send that over so you guys have a copy of that. And then, sorry, I'm just reading Marge's comment here. Can we please not allow any condos, townhouses to show acreage? So townhouses can actually show acreage. Condos cannot, but you're right. So if you ever do see that, please, please, please feel free to send them in. I know on Matrix, I'm not sure on Flex, David could let us know on there, but on Matrix, up on the top where you see all those little icons, there's a little yellow triangle with an exclamation, and it says report an issue. If you click on that and then just type in what your concerns are, please add the actual concerns so we know what we're looking for. Some people will just leave the box empty. Just type it in there that says condo should not have acreage. And we do send a notice on those. We try to check for those, but our system can't always get those ones. So just know that you can send them in, and it is all confidential. Okay.
Is there a special place to send the videos in or tours in to check?
Yes, send that to rules, RULES, rules at northstarmls.com. And yes, you can absolutely talk to the agent first. It is completely up to you. That is wonderful. Some people don't like to approach other agents because it's not always the most friendly conversation, which I would hope that everybody would be friendly about it, because sometimes, you're helping them by keeping claims of misrepresentation down. It truly is not a tattletale situation. It is helping each other keep clean data and keep clean claims of misrepresentation down, because as we know, it is a world of that right now, and they truly do look. We do get subpoenaed for information within the MLS. Anything you put in there is discoverable. So just so you guys know that. But with that being said, we are at time. I can always go over other stuff later. Does anybody else have any other questions or anything you want me or David to hit on before we end?
Not a question, just thanks for your time and all the answers. That was great. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Absolutely. Well, and thank you all for joining. We do truly appreciate it. And I will get that document over to Kathy so she can share that with all of you guys, so then you can see what our best practices are. But if you have any other questions, we truly are here for you. And if it is for David, he would be available to answer some of your questions on that also.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tricia and David. I just feel like you are like superstars when we get you on. So we're very lucky that we've connected you and I, Tricia, so that our agents can actually get the up-to-date information from all of you.
Yes.
So with that being said, I guess we'll end our huddle for today. Again, thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, all of you who attended. This will be recorded and we'll put it on our Facebook page later on today so that you can rehear it. And I wish you all a great week and happy selling.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Tricia.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
David.
Thank you.